You look authentic. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. The recording has started. Hello, class. I'm Nicole Konzerski, your COMG instructor. To continue on with our guest speaker series, this week we have invited Mr. Danny Anderson with our Millwright program here at Del Mar College. So, without further ado, Mr. Anderson, would you like to introduce yourself to the class?
Hey, good morning. I'm Danny Anderson. I'm the industrial mechanic millwright instructor here at Del Mar College. I'm over here in the workforce development building. My classroom is upstairs in room 205. We're down here in the lab today in room 139. And today we're going to be talking about soft skills in the workplace. All right. So the big thing you got to determine, okay, what is a soft skill? What is a hard skill? A simple hard skill is you wake up in the morning, you get dressed, you tie your shoes. Okay, that's a hard skill. All right. Uh, you continue, you go into the kitchen and you make breakfast. Okay, that is a hard skill. Your mom wakes up and says, "Hey, what are you doing today?" And then all of a sudden you're like, stuff. Okay, now your soft skills have just tanked, right? Because your mom just asked you something and you just said, stuff, right? Okay, this is a soft skill. And you have to develop this because when you get into the workplace, you are going to have to communicate with other people. All right. Sure, it might be dudes in the pump shop, it might be dudes in the welding thing, but what if you're in a turnaround or you're doing a burnout and you have to communicate with 1,500 people, right? And when you ever have to deal with that many people, you're going to have to field questions that are not always the smartest questions, all right? And how you handle that is really all about soft skills. If you're saying, hey, at 9 o'clock, we're going to be lifting this pump out, it's going to take approximately an hour and a half. Road X and Y are going to be closed to all traffic with the exception of an emergency vehicle. Okay, sure enough, somebody's going to raise their hand and say, well, we're going to be working over here. Is there any way we can get through there around that? And you're going to say, hey, from this time to this time, this road will be secured unless you're an emergency vehicle. There is no exceptions. And you have to be able to do this. Sometimes there is no dilly dally. You got to be very, very straightforward. All right. Those are soft skills, communicating with people, right? When you go to your interview, whether it's a millwright interview, a welder interview, instrumentation, process technology, you better have some soft skills ready to go because you're going to have stuff that they just say, hey, tell me about how that AYR turbine works. And you're going to be like, okay, this is what happens with this. The steam comes in, steam emission valve opens, it comes up to speed, blah, blah, blah. Governor takes control. And ooh, okay, tell me about a lockout tagout. And you're going to say, hey, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to fill out my sheet, I'm going to do this, do this, do this. Ooh, tell me about CSMP or tell me about, it's all good because you know all that. And then here comes that HR person. Hey, Jesse, tell me about a time you were working with somebody that you don't get along with. How did you handle it? What was the result? Okay, now your soft skills better, this is where they better turn on because if you've never heard that question before, your whole brain is now like, what in the world did she just ask me? And you're going to say, okay, ma'am, can you repeat that? And they're going to say, okay, when you're working with somebody you really don't get along with. And when I say don't get along with, you don't have to like everybody you work with. It makes a better place if you get along with everybody, but you don't have to. But you do have to respect everybody you work with. You can work with somebody that has different political views, all right, and you don't like working with them. But it doesn't matter because you're working together on a project, and you have to respect each other and get that project done. And you do that. All that is soft skills. How you handle a non-perfect situation, right? Because you're going to run into that. There's no way you're going to wake up and every day is going to be sunshiny. Like what we just had happen a couple days ago. You wake up, it's 26 degrees, all right? Oh, we got to pull this pump out. I hate the cold. Okay, well, this is what we're going to have to do. Now you're going to have to talk, you're going to have to communicate with the operators that are giving you the permit. You might even have to communicate with the safety personnel because maybe they don't want you running the crane or the carry deck with ice on the road, right? You have to communicate. Hard skills, you can fix anything. Oh, I can fix this pump. I can fix this turbine. I can do anything. I can line up this system. I can do this. Soft skills. Can you tell somebody else how to do that? Could you really break it down and say, okay, using your procedure, remember you're going to do this, this, and this? Or are you going to be one of the people to say, you know, here's a procedure, go do it. And they've never done it before, right? So that's terrible soft skills. You're going to take that procedure, you're going to go with that person and say, hey, I know this is the first time you're lining this up. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, this is LOB 27. This is LOB 32. We're going to open this. We're going to open this. We're going to close this. All right. Does everything look good? Let's start it. Is there abnormal noise? Do we have abnormal vibration? Let's call the boardman. What do you got up there? Oh, I got, 350 PSI. I'm moving 52 barrels an hour. Oh, we're going to leave it like this. Everything looks good. That's what soft skills is about. In our industry, it's a lot of people think, oh, I don't really need that because I'm a welder. All right. Oh, I don't really need that because I'm a fitter. Oh, I don't need that. I'm a process dude. Okay. Every day, right? You're going to turn over with somebody. You're going to have a turnover on the computer. You're going to log it in. And then you're going to do a face-to-face turnover with somebody saying, hey, you know what? I took the lube oil samples. I took them to the lab, blah, 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 blah. The results came in. I already posted the results, but they didn't like this one. They're going to be calling you in about an hour to bring them another sample. All right. You don't say, oh, everything's good. It's just like it was last night. And then you take off. All right. That's terrible, terrible soft skills.
Right.
So, and using your soft skills at work needs to carry over at home. Right. Well, you say, well, it's so much easier talking to my family because they know how I am. Right. As people, about 95% of us have to be with people, right? We have to socialize. We're very social as a species. Now you got that 5%, right? They don't have to socialize, right? They can be Han Solo. They can be off on their own and they don't need nobody. But, everybody's different. But you got that small group that can do that. But for the most part, we got to socialize. We have to be able to communicate. And yeah, it's okay. You want to communicate with this, but sooner or later, you're going to have to talk to somebody face to face. And this is where your soft skills are really, really important.
Well, this coming week's assignment for the class is to go to a website, specifically Qwit's website, the job website, find a job and highlight that job and post it into Canvas and point out the soft skills that are being asked of in the job description. Are you seeing that more from some of the workforce partners and different employers that you're talking to, that they are leaning more on soft skills as they are looking to hire?
Yes, it is. Oh man, it is so true. Okay, you got to remember, they don't always want the best pump mechanic. They don't always want the best, turbine mechanic. All right. They don't always want the best operator. They don't always want the best, welder, pipe fitter, or instrumentation person, right? They want the person that's going to be the best fit for the team. Because if you read a lot of the write-ups, you get down to the bottom, must be able to work as part of a team within, 18 months. We hope for you to lead the team, right? That's what they want. You ain't got to be the greatest pump mechanic, but you can get along in a team environment, right? And that's all soft skills, being able to communicate with people. If you're a great, and I got a person I'm thinking of right now that went through my program about 5 years ago, unbelievable pump mechanic, unbelievable turbine guy. He is a really good millwright, but here comes that big 3-letter word, but he has an extremely abrasive personality, right? And it's hard for him to keep a job, right? His work is phenomenal, right? His work ethic is phenomenal. But if you're not on his level when he's working with you, he really, really will talk down to you, right? And I told him this when he was going through the program. Hey, man, you really you have got to change your leadership style or your partner style, because you're going to get a partner that's going to be like, hey man, why are you talking to me like you're crazy, right? And he's like, oh, you just got to get used to it, that's just the way I am. No, you ain't going to talk to people like you're crazy, all right? Because then at the end of the day, nobody wants to work with you, right? It's terrible that but there are places for people like that. There's positions that we can do in our industry, in the millwright industry, where we can put him somewhere where he's still valuable to the company, but he's not going to drag people down, right? I know I use a reference. I mean, Terrell Owens was a wide receiver, phenomenal talent. I mean, one of the best all time, at least in top 10. But every team he played for, he took the team down. All right. He had a very, I don't know, very negative. He was a positive personality, but he was negative to the people around him. Right. And to be successful, you can't be that way. All right. For your team, you might go into a shop that there's 30 people, right? And you got to get along with those 30 people. Like I said, you don't got to like everybody, but you got to respect everybody. And your ability to communicate with all those people, because you're going to meet people from all over the place. Like me, I'm from South Georgia, and a lot of my friends here are local. They're from South Texas, all right? And we talk about stuff all day long. We talk about food, we talk about sports, we talk about cars, we talk about golf, we talk about everything, right? And we communicate very well, all right? And at the end of the day, your soft skills really is your ability to communicate with others effectively, right? Uh, Understanding like, okay, I know James over there. He really doesn't want to get into no political talks because he really, really gets frustrated. Okay, so then guess what? Then you don't talk about that when you're around James. Or you got Renee over here. She doesn't really like talking about religion, all right, because it really gets her going. Okay, well, when you're working with Renee, you don't talk about religion. You got to be respectful for people's feelings like that.
Well, I think that you bring up a good point too, right? It's not just the communication. What you're talking about too is the social awareness,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So you're being aware of what other people's triggers are. You're being aware of other people's feelings, and I feel like that plays a big part of it too. Being socially aware
right,
of others around you is a big part of it.
right. And especially nowadays where a lot of the companies are with social awareness. Okay, if you take any of your HR trainings, right, you're going to take them wherever you go. You're going to do CBTs at your annual hiring date, and you're going to have about 3 or 4 HR ones. Which one of these scenarios would you consider destructive, right? And you got these two guys talking, and they're talking about something very inappropriate, and there's a young lady right there, and she can overhear everything, right? And there's no, like you just mentioned, there's no social awareness there, right? You're talking about something you shouldn't be talking about, and there's a young lady right there, right? Or vice versa, you could flip that around. You got two young ladies there talking, and you're sitting there putting in your notes and time, and these young ladies are talking about another young lady, like, oh, did you see how she came to work today? Why would she wear those shoes? And what is up with her hair? Did she even get any sleep? She just whipped it in a and okay, why are you talking about so and so when she ain't here? You know, all those things factor in because you're like, ooh, I ain't gonna say nothing around them two girls. They're kind of heartless, right? And then you go back and say, man, you should have heard them girls talking about you. And then the old girl comes back to those two girls and say, oh, what do you guys got to say about me? I'm right here, right now. Let's talk about. And now you got a conflict, right?
Right.
So that's how things can really elevate without, soft skills, social awareness, right? You have to
100%.
be aware. Yeah, exactly.
Great. Well, that's exactly what I wanted our students to take away from today. Just understanding that it's not just about the hard skills that they're learning in labs like yours, in our welding labs, our process labs, our instrumentation labs, or our diesel labs, right? They're learning all of those great hard skills from you all, the
Right,
experts. But in this class, I want them to take away and understand that it takes more than that. And these soft skills are important. So
right.
I really hope that our students take that away with next week's assignments And I don't want to take too much of your time. I know that you are a very busy man and have some classes to get to. So I really appreciate you taking the time and meeting with our class today. Any last words for them?
Oh yeah, if you guys, like I said, I'm in room right upstairs in room 205, and I've got a whole bunch of copies of the top 30 uh, HR questions that HR personnel will ask during an interview. And if you ever want a copy, just come by my room and I'll give it to you because there's no questions like, tell me about a time, right? How would you handle this? Whenever they give you open-ended questions, they're gonna want discussion on it. And that is employing your soft skills. If they tell you, if you had to describe yourself in one word, what would you say? A lot of people, awesome, no problem with that. But then they're going to come right back and say, okay, Mr. Awesome, when you say awesome, what do you mean by that?
Right.
Right. And then if you can't follow that up, right, and and then all of a sudden they kind of blow you off and say, you know what, we'll come back to that, go to the next question. And now your brain is stuck on that question because now you get back over to the hard skills side of the interview and they say, hey, what about this piece of equipment here? How do you do this, this, and this? And you can't get over that. And now the interview is going down, right? So the more frequently you practice your soft skills, the more natural it's going to become. And then it's, hey, let that HR, you know what, get 3 HR people in here and you're ready. You say, ooh, you don't say that, but I eat HR for breakfast, right? You don't say that, but you feel that way. And it's a confident thing knowing that you can communicate with somebody properly. And then the mechanical side. You can weld, you can do this, any position, you can do it. And now you can do this side of the interview. All you got to do now is just work out that payment, how they want to pay you per hour, because you're going to get that job.
Yep,
right?
That's exactly it. So I want them to be able to get that job and keep that job using their soft skills.
Right.
Awesome. So I really appreciate you taking your time to meet with the class today and share your expertise and help our students be successful in our classes and beyond. So thank you so much, Mr. Anderson.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all come by anytime.